Hello everyone and welcome to Qui-Gon and Ahsoka. As far as the deck techs go, this is one that I like with Blue Hero, which most of my hero decks I'm not a huge fan of, but this is one I am a fan of. So I use Qui-Gon and Ahsoka and Death Watch Hideout, and the purpose of this deck is to ramp. You're gonna get resources really hard, and then you're just gonna deal a ton of damage all at once, and your opponent is not gonna be able to do anything about it. So first, the battlefield I'm bringing is Death Watch Hideout. Claim to gain a resource. Spots the team to put a card from your discard on the bottom of your deck. Qui-Gon is 19 points. He has the similar die to Terrible Hold Vader. He has a 2 melee, a 3 melee, a 4 melee for 1, 2 shields, a resource, and a blank. That one resource, if it was 2 resources, it would be the same exact die. His power action is if you get 3 shields on a character, 3 or more, you can take a shield off to gain a resource. With his partner, you can do a couple different things. I prefer Ahsoka. With Ahsoka, it's after you activate a Jedi, you can resolve one of her die, even if it has a modifier on it. I tend to prefer Ahsoka because a lot of people will go for Ahsoka first, especially if she's annoying and they can't remove her die. So I think that she is someone that is very strong, but very squishy. So that glass cannon, for what she is, I think that she is a better option. You can also play a Jedi Apprentice in this deck. And the Jedi Apprentice is 9 points elite, and it's a 1 melee, 2 melee, shield, resource, and blank. And all weapons on this character gain redeploy. So Jedi Apprentice can be a good character for you to have as well. And then you can also run a plot with that deck, the plot being Lightsaber Mastery to put in 2 move events. You can construct this a myriad of different ways with Qui-Gon. I prefer the Ahsoka version, and that is what I'm going to talk about here. So the first thing I'm going to do is look for my ramp cards. So when I'm getting my hand, when I'm mulliganing, the first thing I'm going to look for, it binds to decrease a blue weapon by the cost of 1. Merchant Freighter, tap it to get a resource. Knighthood, attached character gains Jedi. And you can play it on a character to grab a shield. So first off, I want to play a Knighthood onto Ahsoka. I don't necessarily have to give that shield to her though. If I had a, if I had taken my opponent's battlefield, or if they had won the roll off and took their battlefield, then I can put that shield on Qui-Gon. If I have 3 shields, or if I have 3 shields on Ahsoka, power action to take 1 off, get a resource. So that's helpful in the ramp sense, and in the sense that I want to be able to resolve one of Ahsoka's die at the beginning. You're going to notice if Ahsoka has Knighthood on her, people are going to want to take her off the board really quick. They're going to do what they can. As well, she's 8 health. Getting 2 die off the board, it's really tempting. So we talked about 3 cards that I want to get out pretty early. But the card I want the most versus anything is going to be Jar Kai. Jar Kai is for a blue character only. It's a form. And before you resolve an attached character's weapon die, if attached character has 2 or more weapons on it, increase it by 1. So Jar Kai is going to be really critical to this deck in doing what I want it to do. If I don't have Jar Kai, I'm going to have a lot tougher time pulling it off in the end. That's also going to allow Qui-Gon, if I play Jar Kai on him, to have 6 upgrades. If you play a Jar Kai early and then an opponent plays a Prescient Leap, or maybe you suspect they have Shicho Mastery, we're going to hope for that other Jar Kai, maybe play it on the Qui-Gon as well. Just something to keep Jar Kai on Qui-Gon and help him do some damage. All right, so the next card we're going to look for is Jedi Lightsaber. With this, we can give a character 2 shields. Also good in the beginning if I have my opponent's battlefield. If I took 2 shields, I can play this on Qui-Gon, get 2 shields, gain a resource. So I want to keep him at 4 shields as much as I can, and that's Qui-Gon's ability. He can have 4 shields and 4 upgrades. Next, I'm going to play Tonfa. So hopefully I'm going to draw Tonfa next, but it's not It's the cheapest upgrade. It's not necessarily the only upgrade I have in here. But if I draw Tonfa and I have a Jedi lightsaber or any 2 weapons, Jar-Kai is online. What I'm going to look for here is the resource sides on die. And they're going to be increased by 1. The shield sides are all increased by 1. Everything Jar-Kai is just going to make it a little bit better. Next, I'll play Qui-Gon's lightsaber. And after I play it, I can heal a damage from a character. And if it's on a hero. And I'm going to heal 1 from Qui-Gon when I play it on him. Or if I notice Ahsoka is close to death, I may play it on her just to be ready to move it to Qui-Gon and heal another damage. Furthermore, on weapons, I have Anakin's saber. This is get 2 shields, give a shield to a character you don't control. And his die is pretty good with 2 melee, plus 2 melee, 2 shields, resource on blank. Pair that with Jar-Kai and it gets pretty potent. Cal Kestis' saber. It's going to be another weapon that I place in here. I can roll in another Cal's saber die if it is not showing damage. So these are the weapons that I run in this deck, and I want to get those out with Jar-Kai. So even if I have Jar-Kai and let's say I played 2 knighthoods on Qui-Gon, and then I played 2 weapons, that puts him at 5 upgrades. Let's say I play 1 more. The Haymaker card of this deck is Fatal Blow. Resolve 1 of your character die showing damage, increasing its value by the number of upgrades on that character. So if I have 6 upgrades on Qui-Gon, then that is going to let me resolve 1 of his die by 6. So if I have the 2 melee, it's 8 melee. If I have the 4 melee for 1, it's 10 melee. So that's your Haymaker card. Whatever you're trying to do, that's what you're going to do to get it out. Next, we want to make sure we can play Fatal Blow, even if it gets discarded. And this has to be on a character die. So we're going to put in Apt Lesson. Apt Lesson lets us turn a character die to any side, a blue character die, and play a move event from your hand. That goes right to Fatal Blow. For removal, this is mostly what I want to play out. Some things to keep Qui-Gon alive longer. First off, before you have any cards, resolve what you get, because essentially you're just building up to a critical mass. Once Qui-Gon hits where he's going to deal 8 damage or 10 damage, and you think all of these are increased by Jar-Kai as well, even before the Fatal Blow, this gets pretty potent. If you roll out 5 die that are all increased by 1, it's going to be really hard to do anything with your die unless they can Decisive Blow to remove all your die. Or, Force Reflex can remove 2 die, but that's still, you have a lot more die to contend with. So resolve what you get. You're just building up till you can deal damage that's going to be fatal. You don't need to get damage all in one turn. And with this deck, I don't discard to reroll more than maybe once per turn. And you can kind of see with what upgrades I get. A lot of times I'll just get shields, and I'll just shield up Qui-Gon and keep going. So I do have Fluid or Post in here, and that's remove a die showing damage. That's one of my mitigation pieces. I have 2 Nullifies in here. Move a shield from one of your characters to an opponent's character to remove a die. That is going to help me also be around a little bit longer. Discipline Mind. Spot a Jedi to remove a non-Jedi die. So I have to be careful that I have a non-Jedi that I'm playing against for that to be active. So if I'm playing another Qui-Gon, I can't remove his character die, but I can remove his upgrade die. Also, with removal, Jedi Mind Trick, costs 2. Spot a Jedi to choose a dice pool. An opponent splits the dice pool into 2 groups of any size. Remove all the die in a group, or turn any number of dice in a group to the size of your choice. So those are going to be really key in just removing die. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces. Oh, sorry, 5, 6 pieces of mitigation in this deck. That's a little lower than standard, but with all the shields I'm going to get from all the weapons and Jar-Kai and Qui-Gon, I think it's going to be okay. Another piece of mitigation I have is going to be back to therapy, especially when I get 6 upgrades on Qui-Gon. I'm going to be able to heal 6 damage, or 5 damage, sorry, it caps at 5. And when I have that, then it's going to be pretty potent, set him back, and he's going to stay in the game longer. And the last piece I run in here is Heroic Stand. Play only if you control exactly one character and an opponent has 3 or more dice showing damage. Ready a character. It's almost like an Admiral. It's a cheap Admiral for Qui-Gon. So if someone goes for Ahsoka and gets her off the board early, or if someone gets Qui-Gon off the board and just leaves Ahsoka, I can play this to ready that character that's left. And I have 2 of those. I could put in mitigation, but I find that is a little bit more potent at the end for what I'm going to do. So what can you do differently with this deck than what I have? I realize that my play style is not everyone's play style. I do like other cards you can stick in are Skillful Deterrence. For each elite character die in your pool, you may remove a die showing the same symbol as that die. So shields, resources, blanks, this can remove up to 4 die. And it costs 2. But they have to be showing the same symbol as what your character die are showing. But you can remove any die. Some people like to put in Force Reflexes. Choose a blue die in your pool and remove up to 2 die showing a combined value equal to or less than the chosen die's value, +1. In the beginning, Force Mirage would be good to get resources. It's spot 2 blue characters to resolve one of your die showing a shield as if it were showing a different symbol. But I find that's really dependent. If Qui-Gon rolls shields, great. If Ahsoka rolls shields, great. But without that, I may not look at it. It may not be helpful to me. So if you put in Lightsaber Mastery, one good move event that is helpful is Will of the Force. Resolve one of your die showing a shield without removing it from its pool. Then resolve that die again. Spot a card with the word Mastery in its title. To gain 1 resource. So if you have Lightsaber Mastery, as long as you have a resource currently, this is free to play essentially. So you get it right back as soon as you play Will of the Force. So this is a good card to have under here. You can also run Neiman with the Draw Closer and the whole Neiman package, but I find this is just a lot more potent and you can deal a lot more damage. 2 more cards that I think you could possibly put in this deck. One is going to be a piece of removal, Rising Whirlwind. It's a blue character with 2 or more weapons on it to re-roll 2 die. Then remove one of those dice with the lowest value. Since there are cards like Discipline Mind and Fluid Riposte and Nullify, and I could probably find more if I really looked. I don't feel like Rising Whirlwind is essentially the card I want, but I know a lot of people do play it, at least in the meta that I'm in. So it could be something that's very useful. It's still just going to remove 1 die, so I would just rather remove a die with pay a resource to remove a die. Lastly, we'll have Leia's Saber. Before you resolve this die, increase its value by the number of shields on an attached character. And while it's on Leia, it's free to play. So the die is pretty bad if you don't have any shields. And that's my issue with it, is the consistency. I would much rather have a mediocre die like Tonfa that I have a 0 melee on. And I know can be increased by 1 Jar-Kai, and it's increased by 1 if there's a resource on it, versus something like Leia's Saber that could be 4 melee and the next turn it's 0 melee. So consistency is something that I'm a big fan of. So that could be changed with you. You might like this more than I do. Those are the cards that I have for Qui-Gon. I'm curious what you guys think and if you guys have any feedback. I'll look forward. I'll see you in the comments section, and I'll see you on the table on the sensors. Thank you.
Are you looking for some cards to finish out your collection, or maybe a hard sought after Neiman to finish out your playset? At topdecktcg.com, you can find everything you need from the secondary market, from hard-to-find cards to alternate arts. They even have strategy and content from all of the top content creators in the Star Wars Destiny community. Check them out today. And if you use promo code ONTHESENSORS, you'll get 10% off your entire order. Check out topdecktcg.com today.